So here are three teachings that I want to share with you that I think could be helpful to us. And I want to be modest about that claim. There are some teachers of Kabbalah or other traditions, whether mystical or not, that make great promises. And part of what has been frustrating as a student and as a teacher of this particular tradition is that there are far too many purveyors in the contemporary age of Kabbalistic tradition and the like that say something like, take two of these and you'll be better. That the version of Kabbalah that is being taught oftentimes promises too much and is manipulative in that regard. So I want to try and share with you some of the teachings that I have found helpful and that I've seen have been helpful in other people's lives, theological, ideological, and otherwise, but being careful about the claims in the process. So the first thing I want to talk about is one of the main theological strands of the Jewish mystical tradition. In the 12th, 13th, and 14th centuries in Provence and then in Spain, culminating, one might say, in the great work of the Zohar. The Zohar, which is the Book of Splendor, is the crowning work of Jewish mysticism. And it began to make its appearance in manuscript form beginning in the 1290s. And within 100 years, it was considered to be among the three great works of the Jewish tradition. The first, of course, being the Hebrew Bible, the second being the Talmud, right, the rabbinic lore and legend from the early centuries of the Common Era, and the Kabbalah, as articulated through the school of the Zohar, the Book of Splendor, took its place as the third in that trio of sacred texts. So in this context, among what academics now call theosophical mystics, those that were particularly interested in delving into the mysteries of the divine or of the Godhead, what emerged was a symbol system, a theological symbol system, which you'll find in many manuscripts from that period and onward in simple drawings that consist of a set of lines and circles. But before looking at the lines and circles carefully, I want to take a step back, if you will, or to put it differently, I want to look at the white space on the page that surrounds and fills all of these lines and circles. The essential question of the Kabbalists, like folks from other mystical traditions, is the conundrum of what you might call the one and the many. That is, in an Abrahamic or monotheistic context, one age-old question is, how from the one came the many? How do we understand the tension between unity and diversity? If told in story form or narrative form, how do we think about the creation of the cosmos from the one God that emerges from the ancient Near East and the multiplicity of creations that we find in life? And how do we understand the fact that on an intuitive level, people throughout time have understood that we seem to be interconnected, and of course that each of us is our own unique self. The way that the Kabbalists talk about this question is by speaking about the story of the unfolding of divinity. The way that they speak of God in God's most transcendent sense is God as Ein Sof, or Ayin. God as Ayin, meaning nothing, and I'll come back to that in a moment, or as Ein Sof, meaning the infinite. But let's return to Ayin for a moment, because it's a curious term.